everyone! Now, for your literacy task today, there was a little girl in a video that lived in Japan, and we wanted you to see how her life was different to your life and how they lived in Japan and seeing how it was different to how you live. Now, there were a few things that were different and there were a few things that were the same. Okay, so we want you to make your sheet of paper and have some things that were the same and some things that were different. I noticed one thing that was different. She rolled up her bed every single morning and put it to the side, and then she had all this space in her bedroom. It was a bit strange. I can't imagine doing that to my bed. My bed would be so heavy to put up on the wall. But then I did notice that she had a brother, just like me. So there's some things that are the same, there's some things that are really different. And that's just because they live in a different country and they do things a different way. Now, we're going to read a book today that is called The Way We Do It in Japan. This is a story about Gregory. Gregory and his family are moving to Japan, where lots of things will be different. He will have to use the Japanese alphabet. Does everyone remember what the Japanese, were they letters or were they more like pictures? Pictures? They were more like these, weren't they? They have to sit on pillows at the dinner table and take a shower before getting into the bathtub. As Gregory's dad points out, that's the way they do it in Japan. With so many new ways to do things, can Gregory learn to do them all? Let's find out. See what Gregory gets up to. It'd be a bit scary moving to a different country, wouldn't it? But you would get used to it. This story is about Gregory, whose mother Jane came from Kansas and whose father Hideki came from Japan. They all lived together in a little house in San Francisco until Gregory's dad returned from work one day with big news. "My company's sending me to Japan," he announced to Gregory and his mum. Oh, I want to go too," said Gregory. "Well, we'll all go," said Mum. "We will live like Japanese and eat with chopsticks." "Why?" asked Gregory. "I like forks better." "Because," said Mum, "that's the way they do it in Japan." Soon Mum and Dad began packing up the dishes, sheets and towels, and Gregory packed his toys and clothes. He wondered what kind of toys Japanese children played with and what kind of clothes they wore. I wonder which toys you would pack. What would you take overseas? At the airport, Gregory hurried to the plane, ready for the long flight. "Ohayo gozaimasu," said the stewardess. "What did she say?" asked Gregory. "She said good morning," replied Dad. "Ohayo gozaimasu," Gregory called after it. The stewardess brought him rice and fish for lunch. Gregory wrinkled his nose. "I don't like fish," he whispered. But he ate all the rice and a little bit of fish. He was glad he knew how to use the chopsticks on his tray. "This is the way they eat in Japan," he told the girl across the aisle. She was eating with a fork. I think Gregory's showing off with his chopsticks. After they arrived at the airport near Tokyo, Gregory's dad went to the bank to exchange his American money for some Japanese money. "May I have $1?" asked Gregory. "How about 100 yen piece?" his dad said. Then they went outside and Dad motioned for a taxi. "Dad, look! Everyone is driving on the wrong side of the street!" exclaimed Gregory. "Oh, that's not the wrong side. That's the left side. That's the way they do it in Japan." They drove along the expressway until they arrived on the edge of Tokyo and stopped at a tall apartment building. When Gregory's dad paid the fare, the taxi driver said, "Domo arigato," and Gregory knew that he had said thank you. "Do ishimati," replied his dad. The apartment manager showed them to the 5th floor. He opened the door and gave them the key. Gregory's dad took off his shoes in the entryway and left them on the tiled floor. The Japanese like to keep their floors very clean, so you wear your slippers inside the house. Ooh. Do any of you wear slippers? I wear slippers inside my house too. Gregory glanced at the floppy slippers, but he just kicked off his shoes and ran into the apartment to look around. Instead of carpet, like in his house in San Francisco, the living room floor was made of tightly woven straw. Oh, that was like the video with the little girl in Japan. He looked at Dad. That's the... I know, said Gregory. That's the way they do it in Japan. But aren't there any chairs in the living room? Gregory asked. Dad pointed to some pillows at the table. Those are zabuton, he said. They're to sit or to kneel while eating or visiting. Can you imagine getting rid of the chairs in your house? Oh, I'm tired, said Mum. It's been a long day. Let's get ready for bed. Gregory looked around. How will we sleep? He asked. There are no beds in the apartment. Well, these are the beds, he said, and he pulled out the colourful mattresses. People here sleep on the floor. Wow, that'll be just like camping, Gregory said excitedly. Do you think you'd like to sleep on the floor? Gregory went to take a bath. The tub looked so strange. It was square and deep, and the shower was on the outside of the tub. The shower is to wash yourself off before you get into the bath, explained Dad. Japanese sit with their knees up, and they just relax in the hot water while they're in the bathtub. Gregory took off his clothes and washed off under the shower. When he was clean, he dipped his toe into the water in the tub. It was hot, but he slowly eased himself into it. After a long day, the water felt good. I like the way they do it in Japan. Oh, he looks relaxed, doesn't he? Do you feel relaxed when you're in the bath? In the morning, Gregory and his dad went shopping for school supplies. Those book bags look huge, said Gregory. And don't you have any blue ones? The girls all wear red ones and the boys all wear black ones. That's the custom, the clerk told them. But at your school, your students wear blue gym uniforms on days they have gym. And you'll need a red hat and a red cap too. Gregory tried on the hat. Oh, it looks nice, he said. The next day, Gregory felt really proud walking along under the cherry trees. I love the cherry trees. He's carrying his book bag on his back. Inside were his new notebook and pencils and his red hat. He carried his lunch bag from San Francisco with his favourite superhero on it. As they neared the school, he felt a little scared. Oh, will the kids like me? He wondered. It'd be a bit scary starting a new school, wouldn't it? So we have to look after the kids that start because it's a bit scary. When they arrived at school, the principal spoke to him in English. Welcome to South Tokyo Elementary School. I hope you are very happy. Thank you, said Gregory softly. Then he blinked back a tear as he said goodbye to his dad and followed the principal to his classroom. Your teacher, Inoki-sensei, speaks English. You will do just fine, said the principal. Inoki-sensei showed him to a desk and handed him a mathematics book. Gregory looked through the book. The numbers were written the same as in America, but he knew they were pronounced differently. His father had already taught him that. In his mind, Gregory counted to 5 in Japanese. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go. I wonder if we could do that. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go. Can you try that? Ichi, ni, san, shi, go. But when reading class began, he felt very alone. How would he ever learn to read these funny marks? While the other children studied their reading books, Inu-sensei showed Gregory how to write the letters in the Japanese alphabet. He worked really hard and was very glad when lunchtime came. That is, until all the children who were kitchen helpers brought in trays of rice, fish, and fermented soybeans. Gregory looked at his own lunch. A peanut butter sandwich, an apple, and cookies. Uh-oh, he had the wrong kind of lunch. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the other students watching him as he ate. His face felt flushed. What happens when your face is flushed? Goes a little bit red. And he had a really hard time swallowing. When the teacher dismissed them for recess, the boy in the seat across from him said, "Hi, Yuki," and motioned for him to follow. On the playground, they played soccer. Gregory liked soccer. Yuki saw that he could play well and smiled. When the bell rang, Yuki put on his red cap and grabbed a cloth and some window cleaner. He gave Gregory a cloth too. Then he began washing the classroom windows. Gregory looked around. Other children were sweeping on the floor or dusting. This is the way they do it in Japan, he thought. It even kind of looked fun. When the room was clean, they returned to their desk for geography class. Can you imagine if we made you clean the lunchroom every single day? We gave you a cloth and we said, clean the windows. Well, they're not even told to clean it. They just do it. When he got home, Gregory knelt beside the table and practiced writing the Japanese alphabet all evening. The next morning, he wore his new gym uniform and he left his lunch bag at home. Mum helped him put his book bag on his back and kissed him goodbye. Gregory smiled as he walked to school. Today, he felt almost like a real Japanese schoolboy. Near school, some older boys pointed at him and heard them say, American Jin. Sorry, I was struggling to pronounce that. Gregory sighed. He wondered if he would ever fit in. Then he saw Yuki running towards him. Yuki began talking excitedly in Japanese. Oh, Gregory laughed. Oh, he didn't understand what Yuki said, but it was good to have a friend. Gregory gave Ino-sensei his homework when it was time for handwriting class. Oh, very good, she said. You are learning really quickly. When Ino-sensei announced lunch, the kitchen helpers came in with a big bowl of rice and a tray of fish. Gregory looked down at his desk and bit his lip. I don't want rice and fish, he thought. Uh-oh. Suddenly, he heard all the children cheering happily. When he looked up, the children were bringing in tray after tray of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Gregory was really confused. He pointed to the rice and the fish. But that's the way we do it in Japan, he said. And this is the way you do it in America, said Inu-sensei, smiling. America wa sugoi, shouted the children. Aww, that's so nice, isn't it? They're including him because he felt a little bit strange not being in America, and they brought him all peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Isn't that so nice? Oh, there were lots of things that were different about Japan, wasn't there? What did you find the most different or the most strange? I think maybe the alphabet would take a little bit of getting used to. The writing, or maybe sitting at the pillows at the dinner table. That would be a bit different. I might like it. I'd get used to it, I think. What did you find that was really different? I found one thing that was the same, though, is the people were really nice. They were really nice. And they were really inclusive of Gregory. They made him feel at home. So that's something that's similar. The people were really nice. And some things are different, but you just get used to them, don't you? You just get used to them. Hope you enjoyed.